Good morning, MDY. So I see a lot of guys out there on the internet right now um, with just super high energy videos, everything, hands everywhere, getting their points across. Um, and that's just not me. So you're not going to get that. Don't expect that. I'm just going to be me. Um, and so this morning we continue in our Sunday morning Bible class study series on the parables of Jesus. Last Sunday, we looked at a story that wasn't a parable, but it was maybe somewhat linked to the idea of one of the parables. We saw the story of the barren fig tree when Jesus was hungry, traveling from Bethany to Jerusalem with some of his disciples. And they came upon this fig tree on the road. It was a full-grown fig tree, leafed out, looked good, and then when he went up to it, it had no fruit on it. And it says that he cursed the tree, and it withered right there before their eyes. Now that story seems a little abrupt. Just to curse a tree at that moment. But I think the moral of that story, the idea of that story was when we see from all the passages where it shows up, because that tree had no fruit, was bearing no fruit at that moment, it had no chance of bearing any fruit. It had no chance to serve its actual purpose. And therefore, Jesus just did away with it. Now there's another story of a fig tree that we see in Luke chapter 12. And so if you've got a Bible and you would like to turn there, this story actually helps me deal with that seemingly harsh story a little better. And in Luke chapter 13, beginning in verse 6. And so here's the parable. It says that Jesus told them that a man had a fig tree growing in his vineyard, and he went to look for fruit on it, but did not find any. So he said to the man who took care of the vineyard, "For 3 years now I've been coming out to look for fruit on this tree and haven't found any. Cut it down. Why should it use up the soil?" "Sir," the man replied, "leave it alone for just 1 more year, and I'll dig around it, and I'll fertilize it. If it bears fruit next year, fine. If not, then cut it down." So this story actually gives a little different picture of maybe God's relationship in our life. There are a fair number of different interpretations of what this story means and who the vineyard owner represents versus who the vine dresser, the caretaker of the vineyard represents. But here's the simple idea I want to get from this story today. So last week we saw the moral of the story was that we should be bearing fruit. We should be fulfilling our purpose here on earth. And our purpose is to bear fruit. And the fruit we bear is our lives must glorify the Father. And when he gives us his Spirit, then that produces the fruit of the Spirit in our lives, and it brings glory to him and blesses everyone around us. And so it seemed kind of harsh last week when we saw that if we don't bear fruit, that there's no point, there's no need maybe for us. But this story, here's what I love. When the vineyard owner comes and sees the tree bearing no fruit, then the caretaker steps in and says, no, let me do some work. Let me work a little harder. Let me dig around it. Let me fertilize it. Let me work at it a little bit more and help it along. That is encouraging to me. And so wherever you find yourself right now in life, maybe during this time where we're quarantined and life is slowed down, maybe you honestly have not made the adjustment. Maybe you haven't shifted gears, and maybe your life is not really bearing any fruit. Maybe you haven't found your way yet in what you need to be doing to bring glory to God in this time. That's okay. Don't give up hope. It doesn't mean that God's um, disgusted with you or me right now. It means that we just need to look a little harder for our purpose. That we need to look a little harder for, where is God working in my life now? Where's He digging? Where's He fertilizing in my life? And how can I join in with that? This is a really important point for us to look at. So sometimes we might get kind of down on ourselves when we make mistakes, when we do things that are just not glorifying the Father. But don't give up, because God has neither given up. He's working. He's digging. He's fertilizing. He's working around us. Maybe just some bad things have happened. Maybe you feel kind of hopeless because of the circumstances of life right now. I would say don't give up because of your circumstances like right now. Just look around a little harder. Look a little deeper where God may be working on you to help you grow a little more. I've heard some people say of the story that oh, God is the God of second chances, and yes, I think that's true, but that's not the whole picture. I love thinking of God as the God of second chances, but He's so much more, because He's not just saying, "Oh, Trent, you messed up again. I'll give you another chance. Get your act together, and let's see what can happen now." No, God's doing so much more. He doesn't just put it on me and say, "Trent, get your act together. I'll give you another chance." He's saying, "Trent, let's work together to do better next time. I'm going to start digging. I'm going to start fertilizing. I'm going to start working around you to help you do better." God's not just, He's not just putting it all on me. I mean, that's why Jesus went to the cross. Jesus went to the cross not only to give us forgiveness of sins, to give us that second chance, but also to put His righteousness on us, because we can't do this alone. There's a beautiful passage in Philippians chapter 2 and verse 13, and it says, actually beginning in verse 12, it says, "Continue to work out your salvation with fear and trembling." So that sounds like God's putting it all on us, but don't stop there. Listen to the next verse. It says, "For it is God who works in you." See, He's doing the digging. "To will and to act according to fulfill His good purpose." See, that verse tells us that, okay, we need to continue to work out our salvation, but God is digging, God is fertilizing, God is working to help our lives bear the fruit that we were created to bear forth, to bring Him glory. So I don't know about you, but I find such incredible comfort. I hear the moral of the story from last week, that I was created to bear fruit. I need to bear God's fruit in my life, but then from the parable this week, that even if I'm not bearing fruit right now, God's working. If I'm still alive, if I'm still planted in the garden, if I'm still here, then God's digging, God's fertilizing, He's working, and then I need to go to work with Him. I need to look around and say, okay, where is God working? Don't just give up hope. Just look a little harder, because He is working, because He wants us to bear fruit. He wants us to join in with His will and His work for His glory in our lives. I hope you found some encouragement in this. And if you can't find it on your own, if you can't find where God's working, ask someone to help. Ask someone for their perspective, because sometimes our perspective is limited. We can't see everything at once. And others may be able to help look at our lives and say, "No, don't you see? God's working right there. He's working right here in me to help you." And God is wanting to work together with you to bring Him glory. That's what we're here for. I just want to remind you, this afternoon, we changed the time a little bit, 1:30 this afternoon. We're going to do our weekly MDY check-in on Zoom. The Zoom meeting ID is posted on Facebook and Instagram. I just invite you to join us this week. it's a really encouraging time just to see each other's faces. There's been some movement in our government just within the last week about reopening some things, and our church is talking about our church leadership's talking about how can we begin to do that? What can we do? What are we allowed to do? So I'm excited about what may be coming up in the next weeks and months to get things back to what was normal. But what I'm really excited about is what the new normal is. We know what normal was, but I'm excited about the new normal in the future, and how things may be better than they were, because we now have a new awareness of life. God's given us this time. Hey, this Tuesday, 3:30 in the afternoon, we'll have online Bible study. Join us. This Wednesday night, I'm super excited. This Wednesday night is youth-led worship. It's the last Wednesday of the month. Join us for youth-led worship on our YouTube channel. And I just pray that you have a great week, and look for where God is working in your life.